Well, good evening and welcome to Daylight Savings Time. It seems so light now compared to what it has been, so it's kind of a treat to not have to worry as much about lighting. Um, so this is Shay's Warriors, and my name is Rosemary Flaherty. I am part of the Education Committee of Shay's Warriors, and I am a retired RN, and I was a breast nurse coordinator for the last part of my very long nursing career. Shay's Warriors is a 501c3 nonprofit with an all volunteer board of directors that was formed in the Coachella Valley to help our cancer community thrive after treatment is over. The mission of Shay's Warriors is to inspire, inform, empower through health, fitness, and the mind body connection to heal survivors and their families through a national network of support. Talk, Listen, Share community was formed as part of our online educational outreach to support each other through survivorship and thrivership. Talk, Listen, Share is hosted by board members every second and fourth Wednesday of the month by Shay Moraga, our founder and mover of mountains, Dr. Sonia Fung, naturopathic doctor specializing in integrative cancer care, and myself, and me, I should say. We look forward to special guest speakers to broaden our conversations throughout the coming months of Shay's Warriors. And this is a forum for honest conversation and about many emotional, physical, social, and emotional realities that have become part of life and moving forward after cancer treatment. You are part of the success of the group by talking, listening, and sharing and supporting. So welcome tonight. We are going to talk about tea. And this started out as a presentation to make tea part of the many things that become a grounding and centering and moment of peace to kind of move things in a good direction, to calm your mind, to nourish your body. So many of these aspects are found in tea. And the goal of Shay's Warriors is to give you lots of different tools to help you in survivorship through health and thriving and the mind-body connection. So something that really answers that is the simple ritual of tea. So all tea, true tea, is derived from the Camellia sinensis plant. Now, the history of tea goes back 5,000 years. So around 2700 BC, there are many legends about tea, but this is the one that seems to stick through every resource I looked at. So around 2700 BC, tea was discovered by Emperor Shen Yong in the mountainous areas of China between somewhere in Sichuan or Yunnan provinces. It is said that he was resting beneath a tree as his servants were boiling tea, and then some leaves from a nearby tree floated over and landed in the boiling water. And he thought that it was aromatic. And so he said, let me drink some. So he drank some, and he was very pleased with the way that he felt after drinking this beverage, that he felt revived and clear. So that is how, one of those happy accidents, as we sometimes say about things. So that was one of those happy accidents of wind and tea leaves. So it's been it's been consumed for over 5,000 years. And the tea became an integral part of Chinese culture, and the rituals and the value and the discoveries of tea changed from emperor to emperor. So it follows, if you're reading simply about tea, it's a fascinating study of the culture of China and Japan, because they were the first ones to really incorporate it into their cultures, and they were the ones who disseminated it through trade. So in the Chinese culture, it developed many aspects of the culture and the economy, and it was incorporated into religious rituals. The tea became very popular with the Buddhist monks, and they were some of the first ones to incorporate a ritual because they found that by drinking tea during their very, very long meditations, they would become revived and stay awake more readily during the long meditation if they partook in tea during these rituals. And that was part of the reason how tea spread from China to Japan, is that the Buddhist monks shared Camellia sinensis seeds with the Japanese Buddhist monks, and hence started the culture of tea in Japan. The Chinese merchants took tea leaves to Iran, India, and other parts of the Middle East, and the Dutch are the ones who are responsible for bringing it to Europe and to England. Tea is the most widely consumed beverage in the world next to water. It is 70% black tea and 20% green tea as far as the consumption. And following tea is going to be coffee and cocoa for the most consumed beverages. It's praised for the abundant health benefits to the body and the mind. And the research in the healing and curative property of teas are worldwide, and the research is extensive. It's praised for calming abilities. It's a pleasure to drink. It has restorative qualities. Religious ceremonies have been created around it. Relaxation ceremonies have been created around tea. When you think about it, when you think about literature, how many illusions are reflected in tea drinking as an integral part of the character of a story. And the one that really comes to mind is Alice in Wonderland, because that has to be the best tea party ever. Then in Japan, there are schools that are dedicated to the art of the tea ritual because it's very studied, just like Ikebana. And it has been attended by millions of people. Japanese tea rituals actually started out being performed by warriors, by men. And it wasn't until about the early 1800s that women were allowed to perform the Japanese tea ceremony. The other thing is the descriptors of tea throughout the ancient texts have always described it for its health benefits, its relaxation and calming properties, and its benefits to the mind. And so the wisdom of the ancients, who were very experienced in botany and in chemical medicine, brought forward tea to be the popular beverage that became worldwide. So how is tea made? So the Camellia sinensis plant is simply another variety of a camellia plant with the beautiful flowers. And Camellia sinensis does have a flower to it with abundant pollens attached to the stamen. And it's a beautiful small flower compared to the larger camellias. But it is the nutrients and the caffeine are richest and most abundant in the young leaves and in the flowers and in the buds. So those are the most cherished. The lower you get to the roots, the leaves aren't as fresh and they don't have the abundant nutrients in them. So they are processed, they're harvested, and through the people who harvest are like, it's like harvesting wine, grapes. It's a knowledgeable person who's doing this harvesting, and they always harvest in large baskets because that's the way that the leaves are processed and preserved the best from harvest to the next step of storing and processing. And it's an oxidative process, so it's rich in oxygen. And the green teas, the young teas, are steamed. And there's different temperatures of steaming produces a different flavor and a different content of chemicals. So it's a process that's very detailed and exacting, and it takes a great deal of time. Your black teas are they have a different process that involves much heat, more heat and higher heat. So that gives them a different flavor. It gives them a different chemical profile. So the most cherished teas for the abundance of good chemicals and enzymes and health benefits are going to be the green teas. And the polyphenols, which are the chemicals that have a great deal of value for antioxidant, for being an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and having the health benefits, are sensitive to processing. So they have a reduced heat, and that makes all the enzymes and the qualities more available. The immune boosters, the cachectins, are also part of the chemical profile. L-theanine is an amino acid for relaxation, and it reduces stress. So this is where the increased cognition comes, is from the L-theanine quality, and the increase and the boost to mood. So and it has the ability to increase many neurotransmitters, so serotonin and dopamine. So the L-theanine part of tea is one of the large chemical factors that makes it so good. So the harvesting of the plant, the quality of the tea is determined by many factors, just like grapes and wine. It varies from year to year. It varies from country to country. There are tea leaves or tea trees that are hundreds and hundreds of years old. They don't get harvested as much because the newer leaves have more abundant health benefits, but it's just interesting how hardy they are, and they are able to sustain through centuries. So qualities of tea determined by weather, soil quality, moisture, harvest time, the processing techniques. There are many factors that make a high quality tea. And when I'm talking about a high quality tea, the value of tea, some of the ritual teas, the green teas, can be hundreds of dollars for a tiny bit of tea. And that is part of the economic factor, is the quality of tea goes to very specialized audiences. The lower grade teas goes to countries that are feeding large populations. So in, I guess they're tea auctions in the tea markets that have the different harvests of tea. India doesn't require as high a quality of tea because it's feeding an abundance of people. And with the ritual of the Indian tea, they tend to add a lot of spices. So they get different benefits from the additives that they put in their tea, as opposed to the actual tea itself being the nutrient. So the as far as research, when you're researching tea and health benefits, when you go on PubMed, which is the site for research article publication. And so whenever you're researching a topic, PubMed is a great place to go. And just by doing a raw entry of tea, the health benefits of tea, the anti-cancer properties of tea, there were 3,363 cited recent publications just based on a search for tea and cancer. So the research and the interest in tea to be part of cancer treatment is very high. And I've read a number of articles where it talked about the actions of tea of different cancers. So liver cancer, colon cancer, lung cancer. So it's something that is being, and these are studies from Korea, from Japan, from Europe. So, and it's being researched extensively. Antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties are what give it its credibility in being a treatment for cancer and being a preventative. And but besides cancer, the preventative benefits of tea have shown that they're beneficial for antiviral qualities, antifungal qualities, antibiotic qualities. They're beneficial. Green tea is being used in weight control. It has applications for diabetes in that it does have glucose control properties. It helps with high blood pressure, neurodegenerative diseases, emphysema, COPD. So the Dutch find it beneficial most for headaches, colds, and some interstitial issues. The British says that it is good. They do a lot of research towards upper respiratory diseases, COPD, benefits for smokers, and the mental effects of improving memory. So when we talked about the tracing of tea, tea was newly introduced compared to the rich cultures in China and Asia and Japan. India used it exclusively for medicinal benefits, and it wasn't until the British colonized India that it was introduced as a beverage, which I thought was interesting because India has a long history of plant-based healing methods. The British tea is interesting because the actual ritual of a British tea, which involves tea. Oh, and the Dutch are the ones who introduced tea with milk. So they're the ones that put milk in tea. The British tend to have been the ones who sweetened it more. So the Queen Catherine, who is King Charles II's husband, is the one who really is credited for establishing the British tea ceremony, because there were long periods between lunch and a late dinner in the castle with all of the royal people hanging out. And so she found that she needed a little something to tide her over between breakfast and dinner. And so she said, bring me some tea. And by the way, bring me some sandwiches and maybe a couple of cookies. So she created the little snacks of tea and the hot teapot and the black tea and the settings and the tea cups and the little bowl that you discard the warming tea in and the tea leaves in. So she's the one who is responsible for that. And in England, these tea ceremonies really defined respectability and the nobility. Then in England, it came down to the common man because they found that a sweet, hot beverage that also had milk in it was really beneficial to the working class. And to keep workers working long hours, they would serve them tea. So it was a reasonable thing to provide to the staff. I have a funny story about one of my girlfriends who was British, who was a nurse anesthetist over in England. And I met her up at UCLA. But she said that at 3 o'clock, there was a woman whose name was Sadie that would get off of the elevator with the tea cart, and that everybody that was on, she would get on the elevator and everybody would make room for her or get off the elevator to accommodate her so that she could be up to the floor on time. And then when she was getting off of the elevator, it's like everybody cleared the aisle because she had a definite schedule to keep, and you can't keep the operating room staff waiting for their afternoon tea. So I thought that was funny because you could get in trouble if you did not abide by that. So when we're talking about the benefits of green tea, Dr. Fung provided a research article on the benefits of green tea in colorectal cancer. So many beneficial effects reducing in colorectal cancer because of the high polyphenol content, along with modifying the risk factors of the people that were included in the study. So they were encouraged to, exercise more, reduce smoking, drinking, and improve diet from a high inflammatory diet. And the result of the study, which was conducted in 2019, is that the risk of colorectal cancer was approximately 40% less in participants of the study that had the highest green tea intake, and that the participants who had the lowest green tea intake did not have the same benefits. And that was a study that requested about 10 cups of green tea daily. It modifies colorectal cancer process through several intracellular and extracellular processes, including antioxidant activity, inflammatory reduction, gut microbial alterations, and enzymatic inhibition of lipid or glucose metabolism. So the way that it affects the glucose metabolism has been very beneficial in its studies for diabetes. So there was one interesting study that was conducted in Korea that I read, and it was really simple. It was just an observational study. They had a large group of type 2 diabetics, and they divided it in half, and one group just lived their lives, and the other group was directed to drink green tea. And they studied this for a long time. It was like a 5-year study. And they found that the green tea drinking type 2 diabetics had a 65% reduction in death compared to the other one. And that was death by any cause. It wasn't just related to diabetes. It was death by any cause. So I thought that kind of spoke to the cardiovascular benefits, the respiratory benefits, the benefits to reducing the blood sugar. So since we're talking about all the benefits of green tea, what's the best way to prepare green tea? Or to prepare any tea, because they all have different boiling points at which they are the most beneficial. So your softer teas, new green tea, Japanese green teas, and white teas are ones that aren't processed as much, and they use more of the steam processing. I'm sorry, my dogs are just going crazy, so you might hear whimpering in the background. They're fine, they're fine. And so in order to prepare those, you want your tea, your hot water to be between 160 and 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and you only brew it for 90 seconds to 2 minutes. If you overbrew green teas, they become bitter. So they don't have to steep as long, and they don't require as high temperatures.
What is considered what is considered what did you just say? Preparing it, like that's letting the bag sit in there, or I don't even know that much.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that. Then standard green tea is 170 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit and 2 to 3 minutes steep time. Oolong tea, which is kind of a mixture between green tea and black tea, is also a more delicate tea. And but it can have higher temperatures, 180 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit with a 90-second to 2-minute time. And black tea is the one that you can get boiling. So it is best brewed at 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit and 3 to 5 minutes steep time. So it's a good question, Nate, because the best way to enjoy tea is really through tea leaves, because they say that when the tea leaf is allowed to float and stretch or kind of dance in the warm or hot water, that allows it to be more flavorful. It has more aromatic properties, and it retains it's allowed to release all of its benefits. So when you're talking about tea bags, they're fine, but you're going to have your best benefits from a tea. And there's teas, depending on the process, green teas don't have a horribly long shelf life. So probably a year, maybe 2 years under proper storage. But your darker teas can last a little bit longer, but there is a shelf life to have them optimally benefit.
Rosemary, can I comment a little bit about the tea bag as well?
Yes. So the tea bag is good, and it's a pre-measured. You don't have to worry about measuring it. So it's best with the tea bag to with green teas, it's best to pour the water in the cup and then place the tea bag. With the darker teas, you warm up the cup and then you pour the boiling water right over the tea. So if you've ever made a cup of tea for a British person, they like it strong, hot, and they like a warmed cup. And that distinguishes them from the Asian teas, which are cooler. And there are different.
You don't want, like, when you're talking about the difference between getting tea from a tea bag versus a loose leaf tea, or there's really a greater benefit and less environmental potential toxins from getting it in a loose leaf form versus a tea bag form, because there's a lot of different things that you wouldn't think of. There's a lot of plastics, microplastics, there's bleach, there's other chemicals that are in the tea bag itself. So when you're heating up those types of chemicals, you're either melting microplastic into like the mesh bags, like the triangular mesh bags, that's microplastic. So yeah, like that. So you're drinking a lot of plastic in your system, which you don't want to be, especially if you're trying to reduce that type of environmental xenoestrogen from coming into your body, as well as other chemicals that might be like bleach and things like that might be in the paper of the tea bag as well. So best and safest way to brew tea is get some good loose leaf. If you have those tea bags like the triangular ones that Nate just had, I usually cut the corner and then dump the tea into and use that as like a loose leaf, and then like brew it that way. So it's a measured amount, but it's not in that bag.
So can we go like that? Maybe you're going to get to this, Rosemary. It's very interesting, the history and how it goes, but I really don't even, and I'm sure there's other people in the world that I don't even know the basics of it. Like literally, I thought that the only way was with the bag, and Jalen dropped it in there for me, and it's just been sitting in there like forever. So like to make the healthiest kind of tea, I know there's so many. Can you go through, Sonia, just like how you do it? Like where do you even, like you just go to Ralph's or any grocery store and they have the, both this kind of tea, but then they have the loose leaf tea, or can you even talk about that? Like what would be an ideal cup?
You can get loose leaf tea at grocery stores, but I would encourage people to maybe explore some of the sites online for your higher end teas. Organic markets Clark's has extensive teas that are organic and loose leaf, and you can buy them in bulk. Another place that has some beautiful loose leaf teas is Cost Plus World Market, but they don't have a lot of them. But if you go to Whole Foods, if you go to Clark's, they do have them. And I have some references to check online as a good source for tea.
Well, there we go. She's got Know My Heart. Debbie, you want to share what you got there?
There's a lot of online sources too.
Online sources.
Yeah, like Mighty Tea is a really big resource. Ash Tea is another online resource as well. And there's a lot of different like smaller herbal companies that make different types of herbal teas as well as different types of green teas. So it's probably the easiest way to access it online through a website versus like a local. But there are still places such as Cost Plus and whatnot that carry really great organic green teas or black teas that you can get. It's just where you kind of run into it. Probably not going to be at a Ralph's. Maybe sometimes they have it, but
I think Debbie wanted to share something too. What do you want to share, Debbie?
Okay, so this one right here, there's all different brands, but this one's caffeine free, gluten free, non-GMO, and vegan. And that's the Days of Heaven one, but they have, tons of different ones. They're not, and then here's a strong black tea by them, but
Now, are those in leaf form? Like when you take them
these
out?
are loose leaf, yeah.
Oh, they
Yeah.
are loose leaf. Okay.
Yeah, they're all loose leaf.
Sonia, I want to ask you about these. These are tea bags that are unbleached
Thank you,
and
Debbie.
organic, and you can put your tea in them and, create your own, make your own fresh tea bag.
Blend. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so these are available, but you have to be careful to be sure that they're unbleached and that they have organic products in them and that they don't have any harmful chemicals in them. But this is just a paper bag, and you put your fresh tea leaves in them. And what's nice about this is it's got room to move and expand, because that's where some of the magic happens. There's a lot of magic that happens when the tea leaves hit the hot water. So this is nice because you can put enough in for a tea pot or just a cup of tea. So you can put your own loose leaf in there. And then I got this. So
it's
one
great
of
for spices, Rosemary.
I'm sorry?
It's great for spices as well, Rosemary.
Oh, that's true. That's
You
true.
can throw in like a big cinnamon stick and other things like that too.
Some ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or goji berries.
Goji, cardamom, anise, a lot.
It goes on. So that becomes chai. Then it becomes chai.
Mm-hmm.
This is Rishi tea. It's an organic product. They're known for their green teas and for other teas as well. And it's organic product. It's all in cardboard packaging. It's beautifully packaged. And I got this at World Market. But there are extensive tea companies that are organic. And so you want to look at them. Are they organic? And then how are they harvested? So are they using good practices with the labor involved? So are there a number of stamps on a box of tea that will give you clues about, is this a product that's good to the earth and good to people? So that's something to consider as well when you're buying your tea. And like I said, good tea is not going to be the most inexpensive tea by any means. So now, let me move on. What I will talk about now is tea rituals. And so we kind of talked about British tea, and this hopefully will answer some of your questions, Nate. I want to go back and say on YouTube, besides tea and the action of making tea, the pottery involved is very important, and it's cherished by cultures. So there is a video on YouTube, and if you just go on YouTube and put in woman hand building Chinese teapot, you will be captivated for the next 5 minutes of the art of creating a hand-built teapot. There are specifics involved in the creation of these teapots, standard sizes. What type of teapot is it? Is it a tasting pot? Is it an individual pot? And what type of clay body so that it withstands temperature and it's strong? The creation of it. So this woman is creating a teapot and there's not one fingerprint that's left on it. It's magnificent. So the qualities and the art and the science involved in creating a teapot is something that I used to be a potter. So it is something that is cherished and handed down. And it's an art form in Asian countries who have, I think, the most beautiful pottery techniques on earth. So in those types of teapots, you can buy teapots that have strainers that are built into them. So the spout, here, I'll show you this teapot. This was my grandmother's teapot. I haven't a clue how old it is, but it's a beautiful teapot made in England. It's got its lid. When you're brewing tea, also it improves the flavor and the aroma if you cover it. So when you go and it doesn't have to be anything. If you're just brewing a cup of tea, just put a saucer on top of it while it's steeping, because the steam helps and the increased heat helps and it keeps it warmer. So you can't see it, but inside at the end of the spout, inside there are a number of holes that are hand carved with the special tool. So you put your tea into this pot, you put your loose tea into it. Now, if it's a British pot, you have to warm it first. So you put your hot water in, you have a special bowl in the tea set to discard the hot water. Then you put your tea in, you put a little bit of water in, bring out the flavor in the buds, then you pour boiling hot tea inside of it, cover it up, let it steep for 5 minutes, and then you have a good cup of strong British tea.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think I lost you somewhere in there. So I got the first part, which
Okay.
was you're warming the actual teapot itself. I get it.
With
the
hot water.
Then you're getting rid of the water. I get that part. And then you put in the tea leaves instead of dunking them in a thing. I mean, you'd have the nice tea leaves in there. And then you get the water to the correct temperature. I mean, it's if you really want to make like a real one, right? Not me. I put in the microwave and dunk this plastic bag in there for a couple of minutes, and it's still sitting in there, probably making it horrible. Okay, the part that I got lost on was then I get that you let it sit in there in the teapot with the hot water for whatever the time would be, like you had said, 90 seconds or whatever.
So this pot represents a large pot. There's going to be many people that drink from this tea. And so you put your tea leaves in the pot that's been warmed. You put just a little bit of water in there, just a little bit.
Oh, that's where I missed it. Just where, so it's like always
just a little bit of water in there. Let it sit for, like 30 seconds or so. And that just activates the tea leaves. Then you pour water into the teapot and put the lid on and let it steep for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the culture, how strong it gets. With this teapot, since it has the strainer holes inside of it, all you have to do is pour it. So the thing that they really discourage are, those cute little tea balls that you fill up with tea and then you hang them. That doesn't allow much stretch of the tea leaves. It doesn't allow them the movement that maximizes their flavor and their aroma.
And then once you pour it to the people, let's say you're pouring it to the 3 people that are sitting with you for tea time, then the rest of the stuff that's still in the pot, though, is now just steeping for a lot longer. But that's fine. Then nobody really cares because the first glass is the one that counts, or am I being too detailed?
No, a pot this is probably 3 to 4 cups of tea. So what you can also do is you could transfer it to another pot, or you could just make enough for your singular, so you kind of measure it to what the need is.
Okay, I get it.
Then that's the best way. Now, with green tea, they recommend that you can steep it more than once, and that you can get 2 or 3 steeps off of the same leaves. With the black teas, they don't recommend it. So they recommend that you just kind of toss them out. I tossed tea leaves in the yard, just like coffee grounds, just to provide some moisture and some nourishment. So this is, I had the great fortune of back in 95 going to Hong Kong. And Hong Kong has the Museum of Tea, and it was magnificent. And this is a teapot from the Museum of Tea. It's made with the traditional rather dark purple clay. It is
Fix it up, not Rosemary. There you go.
Can you see it? It's a beautiful little teapot, and the lid fits perfectly. It has stamps on the inside of it. The inside of it is a more raw clay that looks like there's burnishing on the outside. So it's not a glaze that's on it, it's burnished. And inside it's just a beautiful, beautiful smooth surface. Small little, it's a very small little, I keep on losing this word today, but its spout is very small. But it does have the holes inside. So you can put your tea directly in here. And what they used to do many times is people would, this also isn't the most out, this clay is an amazing conductor of heat. It gets very, very hot and it stays hot. So it keeps your tea a beautiful warm. And then many people would just drink directly from the spout. Particularly, they said that workers would just drink directly from the spout as opposed to having to worry about a cup. But it's a small size compared to the other one. They tend to be smaller. And then and there are ones that are even smaller than this that are declared just tasting pots. So that one's there. Now, with the Japanese tea ritual, so I tried to enact a little bit of what a tea ritual would look like. Can you see that? Can you see the tray?
We can see most of the tray.
Okay. Is that better or worse?
Better.
Okay. So, and then I am imagining that the orchids are the ikebana that are involved. So the Japanese tea ritual is actually it's very rigid in what is present. So the Japanese tea ritual or ceremony was actually created by a leader to provide respite for warriors. And it was in a smaller structure, in a natural environment. As a part of humility, there was actually like a little tiny crawl space where you would get on your knees to reduce to make you humble to enter into the little tea house. There were 4 tsunami mats, or there are 4 of the straw mats that are present.
Tatami mats.
What is it?
Tatami mats.
Tatami mats, tsunami mats. So there are 4 of them, and that is strict across the boards. The water is heated on top of charcoal. Depending on if there's a meal served beforehand, there would be a character scroll on the wall that was decoration. And then after the meal was consumed, the scroll would come down and the ikebana floral arrangement would be present. The tea bowl so there would be 4 people and then the preparer of the tea that are present. And there are definite rules as far as how you sit and who starts this. So the goal of this ceremony is to calm down, to appreciate the beauty and the simplicity of the room, to enjoy a cup of tea, and then to honor the host. So the Japanese tend to make tea in bowls as opposed to pots, but they do use pots as well. But the tea bowl is very important, particularly in this ritual. So the host would hand a tea bowl that has a number of characteristics. It has to fit the hands. It can be decorated or glazed in various ways. And this top, if you watch my finger, it has like waves in it. So it's not a solid circle with a uniform top. And these represent mountains. So it's recalling nature. Then the person would look at the bowl inspect it, honor the host, and appreciate the beauty of it. And then it would be given to the person to the right. And then that person would do the same honoring of the host and of the beauty of the bowl, and it would go around. Then the tea ceremony would start, and since it's green tea, it's going to be matcha tea, and it's a powder. So it's a very fine powder, a beautiful, beautiful green color. And the water has to be the certain temperature. So they listen to the water boiling on top of the coals until it sounds like wind. You don't want it to sound like heavy bubbling. It needs to, when it sounds like wind, then that's the appropriate temperature. So you can see why people go to school, because that's a difficult differentiation to make. Then the tea, this is a tea measurement, and it's made out of bamboo. It's just got a simple curve at the end. And so that is the spoon. And you would take the powder, and just whatever fits in here is the appropriate amount for this bowl. And it would be placed in the bowl. A little bit of water would be placed on top of this, and to allow it to mature, it activates the tea chemicals and brings out the aroma and the flavor. Then the entire bowl, about 3/4 way up, is filled with water. And this is a bamboo whisk. So the powder tea is whisked, and the whisking motion is back and forth. It's not around and around. So it's gently whisked, kind of rapidly, from side to side, and you might get a little bit of froth on it. So that way it's mixed up and it's a little bit frothy. And then it would be passed to the first person, who would inhale it, take a sip of it, and it's customary to make some noise when you're sipping, so kind of, and then they would turn it 1/4 of a way to the next person so that they have a clean side to drink out. It goes around. But the point of this ceremony is that it's very traditional. It has beautiful rules of simplicity and appreciation of beauty. So there would be different points in time where people would appreciate the ikebana, would appreciate the garden outside, would appreciate if there was birds or a stream that allowed them a pleasant sound. But I can see the wisdom of the person who would bring the warriors in to help them calm for battle and prepare to go back to battle, or to get a good night's rest. So this is the perfect way to center, to relax, to drink a nourishing drink, and to focus on simplicity and beauty, and to not have much in the way of stimulation. I mean, when you have 4 rugs, you have a certain size room, you have the same utensils. Those are very simple and non-stimulating environment to be in that can help. And that's part of the point of this, is that a cup of tea can be as much or as little as you make it. And when we think about the benefits that this has in connecting our body and our mind, that the restorative qualities of a cup of tea at some point in our day, whether you start off with tea in the morning or whether you drink it at a different point in the day, it's a good time to reflect on the simplicity of it, to reflect on the process of making it, to appreciate the aroma, to appreciate the taste, and to think of it as something, because I think that all medicine is, 40% belief. if you believe this is good for you, it's going to be even more good for you. So I think that to reflect on this as an ancient healing beverage that we have the advantage of stocking up on in our cupboard and performing every day on a daily basis is something that can really help with people who have gone through cancer treatment and are in survivorship, to just reflect on this as something that is a beautiful ancient ritual that I can partake in by myself. I can partake in with my family, with a friend. So it's just part of what tea is.
I
Sonia,
think it,
you want to reflect on the Chinese ceremony?
Yeah. Well, let's see. What were you saying, Nate?
oh, I was just gonna say that I think it's pretty neat that, the point that you brought up I hadn't thought about is how relaxing it can be just in and of itself, and how relaxing and being mindful and just calming yourself, especially when you're nervous about treatment or coming out of it, or after you have cancer, like Shay has shared so much, the anxiety that just comes with life. I mean, for any of us with cancer, or not, but just the relaxing part of it. But then the bonus of it is actually good for you. Like a double, that's what you led with, obviously, some of the health benefits, actual health benefits, but then also the calming. So it has a double thing. And then if you add the community in there, like you had said, sharing it with someone else, a tea ceremony, or even just sharing a cup of tea, again, how beneficial. So it's like threefold. So that's what hit me.
Yeah, like those are absolutely fantastic points and very, very important for, in general, tea or any type of, I think, any type of beverage sharing or in a community setting. And one of the things that I tell my patients quite a bit is like food or like whatever you put into your mouth, food or drink, is medicine that you put in your body 3 or more times a day, right? So make it good. Whatever that is, make it good, right? And tea is one of those big, like, I don't know. Like for me, tea is a very like special. It has special meaning in different times of my life. And one of the things that I was asked to share is um, the Chinese wedding tea ceremony. That is a traditional ceremony in a lot of Asian cultures. And for myself specifically, my family's from Hong Kong. My husband's family is from Taiwan, and so they are very but both my husband and I are born and grew up here, so we have our American views of how we want our like wedding ceremony, and then we wanted to blend a little bit of the traditional Chinese rituals of the wedding ceremony. And the tea the tea ceremony is kind of it is gone back, I don't know, gosh, to, I don't know, the, I don't know, 16, like maybe 600, like in the Tang Dynasty. And so it's gone back a long time, and so there's a lot of history behind that. And I wanted to take all the good parts of that type of tradition and bring it into a union. So traditionally, the tea ceremony is about generally the joining of two families and the union of two families, and the 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 joining of the woman into the men's family. So one aspect is that it symbolizes the the daughter's subservience to the husband's family, or like bringing that peace into that husband's family. Um, my family, my grandparents on both sides, and a lot of the matriarchs of my family um, didn't really appreciate that. And so they opted not to include that in some of their, for their daughters and their daughters-in-laws. So they didn't think that that was what they wanted to symbolize when joining two families. So what I did for myself instead, I wanted to honor that tradition of honoring my elders, um, and for both sides of the union. So both my husband's side and my side. And so what we, for the tea ceremony, what we do is there's a lot of different pieces of it, and there's a lot of symbolism that comes with it. And the main thing is to make it like basically about blessing the union, bringing luck and health and all of those the good blessings into a union. And so in this tea ceremony, it's usually there is a host, like a hostess. It's like the aunt or the person who is directing that tea ceremony, and this this aunt would help with getting the tea ready. Usually, there is a special tea set that the bride's family provides, along with a bunch of several cups and everything like that. So the bride's somebody from the bride's family is going to help prepare the tea, prepare the cups, and in each cup there is there's three things that go into each cup: a red date, a lotus seed, and a lily, like a small lily, not the lily of the valley lilies. And each of those symbolizes like fertility, happiness, like prosperity, a blessed union. And so the tea would be poured into the cup filled with those things, those three things, and the tea would be offered by the bride and groom to the respective parents. So his the groom's father and mother, the bride's father and mother, or parents or grandparents or great aunts or whatever, and so they would go and honor each set of family members by giving them this tea to share with them. And the family member would then gift like a red envelope, or which is usually some type of money or some type of jewelry or something like a symbol or a wedding gift to that to the bride and groom. And so that is the basic tea ceremony. There's a lot of other pieces that are a little bit complicated to explain, and I think are more religious based. So if the family was Buddhist, there would be some type of other rituals there. I'm not Buddhist, so that wasn't part of the tea ritual for my wedding. The main thing was I wanted to, both my husband and I wanted to honor all of our elders and to get their the blessings from all the elders, and really honor the union of the two different families coming together. And that's how I kind of modified that tea ceremony to for my own wedding. And also one of the other pieces is in that ceremony, my grandmother, who my both, I don't have any more living grandparents, and but my mom's mom has or had saved her wedding gown, and in Hong Kong or China, there southern China, there is the gowns are two pieces, and so there's a jacket and there's a skirt, and the pieces are usually red silk and or like a jacquard or whatnot, and it has some beautiful intricate embroidery all over it. So usually gold and silver, usually in the shapes of like a dragon and a phoenix and other symbolism for unity and power and all, like happiness and all of those things. And so I have this dress from my grandmother. She is unfortunately 5 inches shorter than me and about 30 pounds lighter than me. And so obviously I couldn't wear it. But what I did was I was able to get the jacket on and wear it kind of as a jacket over my own stuff, and and incorporate that into my wedding ceremony or the tea ceremony, so that I can have a little piece of her when when we are joining our families, and so that piece was very special to me.
Oh, that's beautiful. That is just beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the tea ceremony. I can include um, a couple links in the chat if anybody is interested in reading more about that, the different aspects of the tea ceremony. So I'm just going to put that into the chat box.
Some resources as well. Rishi Tea has a beautiful website, and it's just rishitea.com essentially. But histories of teas, the different qualities of the green teas, the harvesting criteria, et cetera. I mean, really a beautiful and extensive and just full of wonderful knowledge. And iPodo, iPodo is another high quality tea that has a beautiful website that you can order teas from them, and they provide a great deal of history as well. So it's wonderful. And for traditional big old tea ceremonies, has anybody ever gone to Huntington Gardens for their tea ceremonies? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing to do for an outing. You can walk through the gardens, which are gorgeous. And then they've gone through such renovations. I'm not sure what the tea room looks like now, but they do big tea, big sterling silver teapots, 4-deck sandwich displays and servers. And their sandwiches are like hearty. They're not like little tiny things. They're like, and you don't, the only tea I've ever like not left hungry from is from the Huntington Tea Gardens. Not the cheapest thing. You need reservations months in advance to get it, but it's a very special way to experience tea and friendship and beauty.
And this is the British tea.
British tea.
Yeah, I was at the Langham also has a wonderful afternoon tea as well.
I wish that we had a tea garden here. I wish that we had, a real tea room here. And many of the hotels, I believe the Huntington or the, I can't remember, one of the high-end hotels is very...
Peninsula Hotel is...
Peninsula.
Yeah. I think the original isn't... to my knowledge, it's definitely a British-owned establishment. They're one of the best teas, afternoon teas that I've had was at the Peninsula Hotel in Hong Kong, and they're known for their afternoon teas. And you can't make reservations; it's first come, first serve. You stand in line, and you will stand in line for a couple hours, and that, but their tea service is spectacular, and definitely worth it for just once.
You said that was in Hong Kong?
Yes, but there's a peninsula in Beverly Hills. You can get afternoon tea there.
Okay, cool.
And if you're in San Francisco, the St. Francis has a beautiful tea as well.
Mandarin Oriental is also very nice.
So there's a business opportunity here in the valley for anyone that wants to open a tea room, it sounds like.
It's a
Tony is smiling down there. Maybe she's gonna open a tea room here.
Yeah, unfortunately, the tea room that was here, it was called like Annie's Shabby Chic.
yeah,
They unfortunately had to close.
yeah. The COVID did them in. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, the sharing of tea and just everything is.
Yeah.
But it'll open back up, hopefully.
And the other thing with the Huntington is that they do have a Japanese tea room that's displayed, the freestanding tea room that they have in display in their Japanese gardens. So there's a lot that's dedicated to tea up at the Huntington. Yeah, so the St. Francis has great tea, but it's a wonderful thing. And I meant to mention the tea kettles that are available for to boil your water in. Everybody's gone to the plug-ins rather than on top of the stove, and they actually have settings for. They have a green tea setting. They have, various temperature settings for the proper amount of heat to boil the water. So it's pretty sophisticated. And if you're going to start drinking tea, I think it's probably a worthwhile investment because it is a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Yeah, I use mine almost every day. my tea kettle.
Yes, I use mine every day too. I have a little gooseneck. It's really cute. But
Yeah.
I listen to it.
You can use it, you can use it for tea, you can use it for coffee. Like I do French press, it's perfect for that. Pour overs, whatever. But I wanted to also show you, so Rosemary has some fancy pots. This is my tea infuser. It's a little
I'm
cat.
spotlighting you, so you get to show it off. All right.
Oh, okay. So it's a little cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
Right?
That's an
Like cat on the top. Has a little filter that you can pull out. You dump the tea in here. Put the filter on. Pour the hot water in. Screw the cap on. Let it infuse for a couple minutes. And then you can just take it off and then pour it out. And it's as simple as that. It's not as pretty, but it's kind of cute.
What do you mean? It's a cat. How could it not be pretty?
Right? I'm like, my easy infused glass has the metal filter. Yeah, very simple to use. Doesn't have to be fancy, And today I just use it's an organic matcha, and it just organic green breeze. I got it off Amazon, and it comes in little packets, and you just throw it in your cup and pour hot water.
So it's not powder, it's the matcha leaves.
So it's like the powder, yeah. And it's super easy. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. It's nice when it's like a full-on, like a ritual, and you're doing it for the purpose of calming your mind and doing these types of very specific rituals and ceremonies, or sharing a cup and things like that. But I'm running around on the go. I need something quick, and I'm like, okay, where's my packet? Let me just pour it into my cup, and here we go.
Where's my cat?
Yeah, it's just it works, and the warmth and the sip of that tea, it kind of helps just immediately calm me. And but I don't have 45 minutes to do all of this. I have 45 seconds. And so that's what I can do.
Well, it's sure a lot better than.
You want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I think Debbie's got something to share.
Okay, so what are your opinions on iced teas?
Well,
Or
I
the-
think are fine. I think if you brew them yourself
Yes,
and then cool them down, it's going to be a lot
uh-huh.
better than if you buy something in a bottle.
Right. I don't buy in a box, but yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Because there are lots of, they're getting more exotic as far as bottled teas, as far as the quality of the tea and the way that
Yeah,
they're
I brew
and
my own.
and then you can also get a great deal of benefit from like a sun tea, where the tea is
Yeah,
slowly steeped in water
yeah,
that's hot.
yeah,
That becomes just warm, and it's a much longer process, but it's
yeah,
a delicious process. It tastes really
yeah.
good.
Debbie, do you have a certain way that you do your iced tea?
I just use the teas that I have and then boil them and then put them in a pitcher and then add cold water and then wait for them to get chilled and then just drink them on ice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Yeah. I
but I
think one,
didn't know if they had the benefits or if I lost the benefits because I put ice in it. Maybe some vodka. No, I
Different benefits.
Yes, I
don't.
can see.
it's
Yeah.
It loses a lot because they've got like 4 tablespoons of sugar in per cup.
Okay.
Well, like I think another way you could do green tea fairly easily in a ice, like in a cold way, is you can put in, your green tea leaves in a French press, pour in
Yeah.
water, and just stick it in the refrigerator and let it sit
Okay.
overnight. So you're still getting all the great benefits from the green tea,
Okay.
but it's a slower, infusion method, but it's still cold when you drink it
Versus the
Yeah.
boiling of it.
Yeah.
versus brewing it hot and then cooling it down.
Okay.
And I don't include boba in therapeutic tea.
Definitely not. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Is it? Well, we are running a bit over time, so I think it's probably time to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
We have a commercial
Thank you.
for the next one. What's coming up? What's our next topic?
The next one is going to be about some of the great benefits of being outdoors. So we're going to talk about earthing and nature walking and why we feel so good after being outside doing some of these things. So Sonia and I are going to be working on.
And I encourage any people that are watching to, there's a number of these that are already online that you can go back and watch some of the benefits of some of the other talk lists and shares, just kind of things from outdoor, from plants we've done. We've also done some great things with Chinese medicine, a lot of different videos available online, and this one will be too eventually. So, you can direct your friends to it or kind of learn more about some of the things that can help after cancer.
How do we get to the online ones?
They're in the Shay's Warriors. Look up Shay's Warriors on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay.
And I believe there's a link too on the page itself,
Okay.
the Shay's Warriors page. But thank you for asking. That's a great question, Devin. All right. Well, thank you, ladies. That was a
Thank
great,
you.
like usual. Thanks for being here, Tony and
Awesome.
Jason and Debbie, and look forward to the next one.
Hey, I learned a lot. Thank you, Rosemary.
You're so welcome. Yay.
Thank you. That was awesome.